Take a little of that color, pull straight down, like so. Now, if you wanted to paint this picture without the oval, you certainly can do that. Just leave it off. Can do easy. No big deal. Maybe on the other side, over here, I'm going to use that same color, but I'm going to add a little white to it. I want it to be a little lighter. Same color, loaded the same way, just by pushing. Let's go up in here. Maybe in this side, let's do this. Maybe we have some bigger trees that live over here. And in my mind, these are farther away than these. So I want them to be a little lighter. And we'll just sort of let them, maybe they go all the way to the top. What the heck, let's go all the way up here. This is a big old tree that hangs over here and watches a little waterfall back in the background. Just watches that little waterfall. Has a good time out here. Enjoys life. There. And some darker color. And maybe it comes right out here. Little ground area. All right. See, you begin seeing things here. They just, after you've painted a little while and you get over the initial fear of touching brush to canvas, then it becomes so much fun because you're not worried about making mistakes or because anything that happens on this canvas, you can work with it or you can fix it. There. When our instructors like Dana that you met in the last series or my son Steve, when these instructors are teaching people, one of the first things they tell them is don't worry about making mistakes because there's nothing on the canvas that they can't fix. Now I'm going to add a little touch of lavender, that same lavender color, right here. I want to put a little of that dark down. I want a little dark in here. This is just that same lavender, alizarin crimson, phthalo blue. I want to add it right in there. There, I like it. Maybe a little on this side too, just to darken it up a little and put a little of that same background color into our reflections, but not a great deal. There we go. Very nice. Very nice. And add a little more to that tree. I'm going to put another tree in front of him, I think, so not too worried about that. Okay, let's see. I would just use the same brush. It doesn't matter. Go right into a little yellow ochre. Little yellow ochre. A little touch of cad yellow, Andean yellow. Maybe even a little of the bright red here and there. Ooh, that's nice. I like a little more of that bright red. I like that. Push, though. You want that little ridge of paint. See it coming up here? Push. Let's go right up here. Now, oh, you know what I want to do? I think I'll just go in there and put a little branch or two. What the heck? I think we have time to do that. Maybe we can see just a few little sticks and twigs that are living in here and coming through. See them? There. Just sort of makes it a little more interesting when you see some of these little things that live deep in your trees and just brings it together because they're always there. There's something that's holding all these leaves up. There we go. Now, now we can use that nice color we made. Corner the brush, think about shape and form and how all these little rascals would live in there and just begin working with them. Now, if you have trouble making the stick, add the least little touch of paint thinner or the liquid white. Now the liquid white will slightly change your color, of course. It'll make it a little lighter. So it just depends on what it is that you want. There. Think about shape and form, though. I know you get tired of hearing me say that, but it is so important. It will make you happy when you get done. It'll be worth the effort. There. Okay, now then over here on this other side, let's put a little something over there. I'm gonna reach up and grab a little of the titanium white and add to that same color. Now over here, I added the white because in my mind the light's zinging through there and it's going to be a little bit brighter. See, going to have those little spots on there that shine. There we go. Did you ever think you could do such delicate little things with a great big old 2-inch brush? You can. You really can. In fact, you can do anything that you believe you can do. Anything. And I know you can. There. Now then, tell you what, let's do. I'm going back to my old brush here. Let me find a brush. It's got nothing but brown on it. Nothing but brown. This is the brown that we made from the sap green and the alizarin crimson. We're going to load some color in it. Let's go up here. In my mind, I want a very dark tree right here. Right there. There he is. There. But watch how this dark contrasting color will push that first color back and it'll stand out. It'll really stand out. There we go. Nice big old happy tree lives right there. Right there. Maybe there's a big old limb that hangs out here. There we go. But this contrast is very pleasing. Very pleasing. In fact, we may not do much more to that. I like that dark so well, I may not even highlight it, because in my mind, this is going to be way back in the shadows anyway. There's not going to be a great deal of light coming through there. And it's a good way for me to keep the dark back there that I want. If you wanted to highlight it, you certainly could. I'm going to take a little paint thinner with the same color and just here and there, just like we did before, add the indication that there's some limbs and sticks and stuff going on in here too. We don't want this one left out. But not a great deal. Not a great deal. Shoot, maybe right in here is one that's a little lighter. As we mentioned earlier, you have a lot of those in the woods, and they're sort of pretty. They stand out. Now then, back to our brush with a dark brown, and we can come in here and just begin tapping in some, maybe there's a little land area under here. Grab that, pull it down too. I'm going to go into a little, we get a little sap green, a little cad yellow, but make it very dark, maybe even a little black in it, dull it down. Now there's brown on the brush, and that's really going to dull it also. All these colors are going to dull it. And in our world, maybe there's a little green grass that lives back here under this tree. Just a little. Just a little. There. Nice place to sit and try to catch that big old trout that lives out there and swims around all day. I like to fish. I'm a pretty good old fisherman. But I'm one of these people that puts Band-Aid on him, gives him a little CPR, pats him on the tutu, puts him back in the water. Come back the next day and catch him again. Because the fun's in the catching of him. A little more of the brown. A little more brown. Maybe there's a little ledge right there. We don't know. Something like so. A little brown and white. And we can put a little highlight on that. Just a touch. Just a touch. You could use a fan brush with a little of that same green color. Just pop in some little areas so they come right down and bring it all together. There we go. Thought maybe today we'd have some fun and we'd make some rocks. So I'm going to take quite a bit of liquid white and put out here. Just put it out here. I'm going to take then some dark sienna and mix in there. I want a very thin paint. This is dark sienna, liquid white, and the least little touch of yellow ochre. Shoot, maybe we'll put even a little Van Dyke brown in there. Really dull it down. There. See there? Now, wipe off the knife. And let's use, today we'll use a filbert. I'm going to go right through the browns, both browns, Van Dyke and dark sienna. Then I'm going to reach over here, both sides are covered, and I'm going to pull one side through that thin paint. So we have light color on one side, dark on the other. And in our world, I see all kinds of happy little stones that live here. Maybe there's just a whole group of little stones that live all down in here, wherever you want them. Just sort of decide where they're at and put them in. On the other side over here, I want to have something like that. There we go. And we don't know, shoot out in the water here, there may be several more ran out of dark. Just little things that live out here in the water. There. Now then, we can come right back. I want to have a little bit of land projecting right out through here. Same old dark color. A little bit of reflection under it, a little bit of our same color. Indian yellow, cad yellow, a little bit of, and here and there maybe the least little touch of the bright red mixed in with it. Just like so. Now then, and I think there might be a few little stones down here too. Maybe there's one lives out here, just wherever you want them, like so. And, shoot, let's go up here. Maybe there's some little stones that live in here. And you put as many or as few stones in your world as you want. A little of the liquid white with a little of the blue in it, and we'll come right in here. Let this water just play right along through here. That sort of cleans up all these edges and brings it all together. And place some water all around these little stones that you laid in here. There, see? Sort of just brings it all together. There. All right, now then. Shoot, that's fantastic. Tell you what, let's do. I want to take the contact paper off here and let's see what we have. So let's grab it, pull it, and off we go. Isn't that a nice little painting? Now, you know me. I always like to put a big tree or two, so I'm going to go right into that brown color that I made. Use a fan brush, same old brown color. And in my world, I think, all right, there's your bravery test. There lives a tree, choom, right there, right there. And he's got a friend. Don't make them just straight. Shoot, give them some character. Let them move around and play in there. Our liner brush, paint thinner, and we'll put an arm or two on this tree. There. If your paint doesn't flow, it only means that you need more paint thinner. There we go. Maybe that limb's a little fatter. There. See? And just put in all kinds of little limbs and doers, and there we are. And this is up to you once again. You decide how many limbs are on your tree. Shoot, you might want to put some leaves or something on there. I don't know. Once again, each person will see nature different, and each painting should be different, and that's what makes it so much fun. There we go. There, you can just put limb after limb after limb, many as you want, or as few as you want. Maybe I tell you what, look here, here's one that's, you have to make a little noise to see. It just sort of hangs off there like that. But wiggle the brush, shoot. Now we can take the knife and we'll take a little touch of brown and white. And here's our light source, and we can come in here and just by touching, we can begin adding the illusion of bark. That's what my puppy does, barks, bark. 1,000 comedians out of work and me trying to be one here, okay? Something like so. And we'll come back with our brush that's got a little yellow on it. Put a little something around this tree's foot to hold him in. And I tell you what, I'm going to take a little touch of the bright red. I think we'll sign this one. We'll sign him right out here on the rock. We'll call it finished. Hope you've enjoyed this one. These little ovals are fantastic. Since we introduced them in several series back, they've become one of the most popular things we've ever done. Artists all over the country are using this idea. So try it. I think you'll like it. And from all of us here, happy painting, and God bless, my friend. Fantastic little painting? Good. Tell you what, let's start out today and have them run all the colors across the screen that you need to paint along with me. And while they're doing that, let's look up here. I have my standard old pre-stretched canvas up here, and it's all covered with a nice even coat of liquid white, and it's ready to go. So let's go. Thought today we'd do the little animated opening. That's the one you see at the beginning of each show of this series that just sort of pops in with the music. That's a beautiful little painting. It only takes a couple of minutes to paint it, but it takes a lot of fantastic people a long time to animate it. So let's do that one. I'm going to start today with a small amount of phthalo blue on the 2-inch brush. Just a little bit of blue. Just tap it. And maybe we'll reach over here and get the least little touch of phthalo green. Least little touch, very strong. And we'll go up here and let's just bounce in some happy little areas up here in the sky. Phthalo blue and phthalo green. Now this won't be an exact duplicate of what you see at the beginning of each show, but it'll give you an idea of how it was painted. It's almost impossible to paint an exact duplicate, and we never try to paint exact duplicates. Okay, maybe over here. We'll put a little bit more, wherever you want it. Just drop in some happy little colors. Let them bounce around and play. There. Now the color is continually mixing with the liquid white, and you get all these different values and shades. Let the liquid white work for you. This is a lazy man's way of painting. That's why I like it so much. I'm basically a very lazy person. There. And we have a little water in that painting, so while I have this on the brush, tell you what, we'll just mix a little more color right on the brush. And let's go down here and just put in a little bit of water. Pull from the outside in, like so. See, by mixing those colors on the brush, you get all kinds of different colors that are happening there. And from the other side, we're still pulling from the outside in, and I'm leaving a little area open here. If everything works out just right, that'll look like a little sheen of light coming across the water. And just barely touching, you can go all the way across and bring everything together. And that little light area remains there. And then we can very gently just blend the corners of this out, the edges out. There. Don't want to overblend this. I want to leave it sort of rough and ragged right now. That's what my dog says is rough. That's what he said, and he sat down on the sandpaper. Rough. There. Okay. Now then, let's wash your brush. And we just wash it, as usual, in odorless thinner. Shake off the excess. And just cover the whole studio. Okay, let's put some big clouds in there. We just use a 2-inch brush today. Yeah, you could do this with a fan brush or a 1-inch brush. Just pull it through straight titanium white. A lot of paint on the bristles. Okay, let's go up here and put us in a little cloud. Maybe there lives a little cloud right there. And just use tiny little circular strokes. Just sort of mix it up, wind it up. There. Okay, and big old cloud lives. Yep, there he is. There he is. Son of a gun just floats around here and has fun all day. And try not to stay in one area and keep working it. It'll just turn into a great big cotton ball in the sky. Keep your brush moving. Don't try to work on the same area over and over and over. You'll be much happier with your clouds if they're loose and free. There. Okay. Maybe some right in here, wherever you want them. Just sort of make a big decision where clouds live in your world and drop them in. There we go. See there? But you can make a sky full of clouds in just a few minutes. Doesn't take long. These old big brushes will do fantastic things for you. There. Maybe there's another one right there. And the paint's quite thick here. In order to do all this blending without it just mixing together, you need a very firm, dry, thick paint. I can't say that enough. I know you hear me say that over and over in show after show. But it's most important. If you're going to get the best results, a thick paint is an absolute necessity. Then we'll wash the brush again. Okay, now then, nice dry brush. And I just want to blend this very gently. Just blend it. just sort of stirring it up. And I'm not touching the top much at all. I'm trying to avoid touching the top of each cloud, mostly the bottom. And every once in a while you can just beat the brush a little. That'll take off the excess paint without going through the whole cleaning procedure again. There. And at this point, don't expect your cloud to look like it's finished. It should still look a little rough. We're going to blend it yet. This just blends the bottoms out. Gets them ready for the next step. Knock off the excess. Now we're going to fluff these up just very gently, barely touching the canvas. Grab these little son of a guns and just lift them up. That's all there is to it. Lift them, let them get fluffy. See what a difference that makes. Every once in a while, knock off any excess paint. Continue to fluff. Work in layers. There. Now very lightly. 2 hairs and some air. All we're going to do is just gently. There's a hair on the canvas. All you do is take a corner of the brush and lift it off. There. Very lightly. Just enough to take out the brush marks. And that easy. You got a fantastic little sky. Okay. Now then, today we're going to make some little foothills back here. And so for that, I'm going to take some blue and a little bit of white, little touch of the midnight black into it. So we got some phthalo blue, midnight black, a little touch of white. Looks like there might be a little touch of phthalo green there too. That was an accident, but it's fine. And we'll put the least little touch of crimson in there. Okay, makes a nice color. Now, let me clean the knife. Today we'll use an oval brush. And it's easy to identify. It has a black handle. The rest of my brushes have white, and this one has a black handle. Okay, now decide where your little foothills are going to live out here. Just touch with this brush and pull down. It's sort of round on the end, see, so it makes these nice little round areas we're looking for very easily. There we go. Okay, and maybe this little footy hill just goes right down like that. However you want it, just pull it straight down. Then we'll take a clean 2-inch brush, and I want to create a misty area in here. So all I do is tap. All we do is just tap. And then lift slightly upward. See how soft the base of that becomes? Okay. Then we'll use the same color, the blue and a little black. I want the same color, only darker. Less white in it this time. Because this one's going to be closer to us. A little touch of the crimson. There. Just load the brush back and forth. And maybe there's another little foothill. And it came right down like that. Now you can also turn this brush this way and make more individualistic little things. And pull them straight down, just very lightly. See, this darker color now separates. There we go. Just like so. And let this just work its way right on out. Here and there some more individual things, so turn the brush vertically. And we can go back to our big brush and tap the base of it. Tap it firmly. You can probably hear how hard I'm hitting this. But I'm using only the top corner of the brush and tapping. I want to create that illusion of mist again. Now sometimes on foothills, maybe you want to show a little bit of color, a little bit of highlight. So let's do that today. Shoot, we got it going here. I'm going to take that same oval brush and go into a little yellow, cad yellow, little yellow ochre, and just sort of work it around like that. That's all we need. Okay, a little bit of color on there. Then all we have to do is just sort of tap. Just tap and give it at least a little downward pull. I just want to put the indication here and there of a little bit of highlight. Not much. Not much. There. And we'll come back and soften that with a big brush too. But that's the way you make trees that look a little closer to you. Just by putting a little color. When things are far, far away from you, they look sort of bluish in color. And as they get closer, then you're able to make out detail and color and all those wonderful things. But when they're far away, they should look just bluish like that. And that helps create the illusion of distance in your painting. Okay, a little yellow ochre, and then a little touch of Indian yellow. Just break it up. There we go. And back to our big brush. And we can just tap the base of this a little, just to soften it and bring it all together. There. Okay, then lift upward. And that little oval brush super, it makes some fantastic effects. Let's go on the other side here. We'll use some more blue and some black. I want this to be even darker. Even darker. Okay, maybe over here lives another little foothill. I think in that little opening at the beginning, it had several layers of foothills. And this is the way they're made. See, each layer gets darker. Now, maybe before we get too far here, let's put some reflections back here. Watch here. Grab this and pull it down. And we'll have a little bit of water back here in that background. But just touch and pull down. Just straight down. Then come across. That'll give the illusion of water. Then we can take a little touch of white paint and we'll just make the indication here and push it upward. Just some little water lines and some little things. See, makes it look like mist there just by grabbing it and pushing upward. Sneaky, huh? Lay it on, grab it. Just let it go upward. That's all there is to it. Okay, now then, we'll bring this foothill right on down here in front of it. And maybe it comes right on out here. And then we see there's a little recessed area. That's a place the big trout can go back here and hide. There. And maybe on that, indications here and there. I have a little bit of highlight on it. It's also quite close. So if you can see highlight over here, chances are you could see it here too. Just a little. See, luckily in this painting, I know pretty much is what's going to happen since we animated it. So I know what areas are going to be covered up. I don't have to worry about putting a whole bunch of stuff here. Most of the time we're just about halfway making these things up as we go. I have a general idea, but that's about all. Decide where your reflection is going to be and you can pull that down. Tap it, lift it upward, bring it all together. A little more reflection. There, and very lightly across. And we can do that same thing again with a little touch of white paint. This is not liquid white. Usually on the water lines I use the liquid white. This is just plain white. Then I'm lifting it upward. There. Okay, let me grab an old fan brush here. There we go. Over here on this side, let's have some fun. Let's have some fun. I'm going to take yellow ochre, a little bit of dark sienna in it on the fan brush. But almost, be right back. There I am. There we go. Yellow ochre, dark sienna mixed together. Now, up in here, we had a little tree or two. There you go. That was just mostly yellow ochre with a little sienna in it. And I want these trees today to be like little swamp trees, ones that the limbs hang down. They're tired. Well, they've had a rough life out there in the swamp. Let's see, maybe there was another one and he lived. Yep, right there. But sort of push those limbs down, let them hang. These old trees, they have a lot of hangy downs on them. And you could just take the brush and just wiggle it upward, create the illusion of some little bushes and stuff that live back in here. All right. Now on top of that, or in front of that, we'll begin putting some other things. Let me clean my brush. And come back in here. And let's see here. We'll take some Prussian blue, midnight black. We might as well mix up a pretty good pile. We're going to use that. Some Van Dyke brown, crimson. Shoot, we'll throw some sap green there too. Whatever you got, mainly dark. You're looking for a nice dark color. Let me wipe off the knife. We just wipe off the knife on old paper towel. Now then, we'll load the fan brush full of color, both sides, a lot of color. And let's decide here where some trees live. Maybe there's one right here. And once again, we're looking for these old hangy down limbs. Just let them hang down like that. Turn the brush. These are old tired ones. There. Give him a friend. Like that. There. Now maybe in your painting you want trees that maybe they're a little better off than mine. You can do that. I just want to show you how to make these old, I call them swamp pines, because usually where it's very wet you have evergreen trees that, where I come from in Alaska, you have evergreen trees that the limbs hang way down. And the farther south you go in Alaska, the more these limbs just hang, and they're beautiful. But usually it's where it's very damp. But now if you want nice straight ones in yours, please do that. There we go. See, isn't that quick? We've got some happy little trees. I'll just take the old big brush out. The little one's too slow. And let's put some land in here. See here? All we're doing is just tapping. And we don't care if some of these little hangy downs off the brush get down here, because we'll just turn those into reflections. We'll use them rascals. There we go. And that's our land area for that side. And while we have that brush going, just grab and pull down. Pull straight down. And come across. See there? Instant reflections again. Now then, back to our same old fan brush. And we can just go right into a little touch of the cad yellow. And it's immediately is going to turn green because of the blue. I just want to put the indication here and there of a highlight or two. I don't want too much over here. Not too much. All right. Okay, now then we can take a 1-inch brush, put a touch of the liquid white with it just to thin the paint a little. Thin paint will stick to a thick paint. And we'll go right into some yellow and some yellow yellow ochre. A little touch of the bright red. And let's go up here and begin putting in all kinds of little grassy things. And just using the corner of the brush and just tapping. Just tapping. And it's most important, the angles that you follow here. We want to create the lay of the land. We want the land to sort of move over this way. There we go. See there? Okay, maybe there's a little bump that lives right here. Wherever you want it. Just drop him in. Back in here. But leave some of those little darkish areas in between. That's what gives depth and distance. Okay, take a little touch of the Van Dyke brown. And let's just put in a little dirt under here. And just rubbing that. Just rubbing a little of that brown right in there. Like so. There we are. Back to our titanium white. Got that little roll of paint on the knife. And it's just trying to lay a little bit of white right underneath there for a little water line. And all I'm doing is touching, allowing the canvas to pull off what it wants. Give you back what's left. There. Okay. And we can take the knife, scratch in a few sticks and twigs, wherever you want them. Wherever you want them. And I think we about got that side finished. Let's go to the other side. Let me grab, I have several oval brushes going here. We'll just grab it. I like these oval brushes, they're fun. Okay, let's come right up in here. Load the brush full of paint, and there was an evergreen tree who lived, he did live right there. Just start out by making a sort of a little center line. Then you can take this brush and just sort of work it back and forth. And we want these old limbs just to hang on this tree. And this oval brush does that very nicely. We want old hangy down limbs. There we go. Nice old tree. Okay, and he's got a friend. Lives right next door. Friend lives right there. The same thing. There. These two are good buddies. They live next door to each other. And maybe here and there there's a happy little bush or so that grows right down by his foot. Just sort of make up little ideas and do them. And we had one big monster tree. Big guy. He lives right there. Well, that's a big son of a gun there. And I'm going to come right along in here. Right over all that sky. Load the brush frequently as required. Whenever you start running out of paint, just load it back up. See, that oval brush makes all those little doers happen there. I don't know what kind of name you'd put on those. Doers, that sounds good. There we go. But that easy, you can make a fantastic tree. Just let him grow right out of the brush. There we go. Okay, I'm going back to my big brush here. And let's just fill all this in. We can come right down here and just begin putting in all kinds of... This is just dark colors so our lights will show. We want our lights to show. And you could really put all this on with a paint roller. Doesn't matter. We had a little path in there, so we can sort of leave that open. Okay, here we go. Back to our oval brush that has the light green on it. Put some color on it. And let's come back up in here and just indicate a few little highlights on these evergreen trees. Just a few here and there. There. Don't cover up all your nice darks. Boy, this does look like an old swampy area. Okay. Go back to my 1-inch brush. And let's put some highlights on the little individual bushes. Just sort of drop those in wherever you think they should be. Maybe let's go right over here and work from the one that's farthest away forward, always coming forward. Forward, forward, forward. Before we get too far along there, we need to stop and put in our little path so we can have some of the bushes and stuff that hang over the path. So we'll take the knife, titanium white, just pull it out very flat. Okay, let's go right up here. This is just white. I like this bright in here. It really makes everything shine, stands out. There. And to that I'm going to add the least little touch of dark sienna. There, just the least little touch, just enough to color it a little. Okay, now then we can go back to our 1-inch brush, and with that we can begin completing the rest of these little bushes. And let some of these little bushes hang over the path. That pushes the path down into the painting so it fits. I don't want it to look like it's floating around and just having a good time. Push that rascal down in there. There's another one. See, and that pushes that path right on back. Now we don't know where it goes, and we don't care. It goes back there to a happy place, wherever that is. individual bushes. It's most important when you're up in the foreground like this to do one bush at a time so that each one's an individual, has its own personality. Shoot, give them names. People think you're crazy, but that's all right. That's all right. As long as you're happy, it doesn't matter. There's one that's got a little red flowers out on the end of it. One of them happy accidents. There. Just like so. Okay. Now we can take our little script liner brush, thinner on it, go right into the Van Dyke brown. And maybe, tell you what, maybe there's a little stick that lives right there. Something like so. See there? And add a few little details in yours. And yours should also be finished. And I think with that, we'll call this painting complete. I hope you've enjoyed seeing how the animated opening was made. And until next time, today, I thought we'd do a fantastic little painting on a black canvas, as you can plainly see. So I tell you what, let's start out and run all the colors across the screen that you need to paint along with us at home. And while they're doing that, let me show you what I've done up here. Today I have my standard old pre-stretched canvas, but I've taken black gesso and I've sort of just painted a little thing like this with a foam brush and left the center unpainted. But I've graduated that black gesso into it. Just, you start out here, and as you lose all of your black gesso, it'll happen automatically. Then we've covered the whole area with a little tiny bit of liquid clear. And then on top of that, I've just put a mixture of alizarin crimson and phthalo blue. Proportionally much more crimson than blue. I want it sort of to the reddish side. So that's how we've got this prepared. I thought today we'd just do a very warm little painting. I think you'll like it. It's a lot of fun to do, and I really think you'll enjoy it. So let's start out with an old 2-inch brush, a little bit of the titanium white, and just load some on. No big deal how we get it on there. I'm going to go right up here in this light area, and I'm going to start and just make little crisscross strokes. Just little crisscross strokes. And it's beginning to pick up that color that's already on the canvas. And immediately, beautiful things will begin to happen. And if this is going to be our light source right here, then we start in the center and work around. And that way it'll progressively get darker as it goes out. And once again, that also will happen automatically. You don't have to worry about it. All you got to do is just start at the center and work outward. Okay. And you can do this in any transparent color. This is also very pretty to do in like just phthalo blue or sap green. Any of these colors that are transparent. And if you want to find out if a color is transparent, just take a little bit and just rub it on black gesso. And if the black area still looks black, then it's transparent enough to do what we're doing here. Let me wash the old brush. We wash our brushes, as you know, with odorless paint thinner. Just shake off the excess and beat the devil out of it. Now, you can go back as many times as you want into the center area to make it as bright as you desire. So, let's load the brush again. I do recommend that you clean the brush between each application of this white paint. Otherwise, you're going to take that dirty color right back into the center and you'll lose your brightness. Start in the light area and work outward. Always working outward. And I make the little crisscross strokes because that's easier to blend. Instead of having big circles, the little crisscross strokes blend out quite nicely. There. Okay, let's just keep working it outward here. I want to keep the edges of this quite dark. Don't want it to get too bright. But when you're doing yours, you might want it to be very, very bright, and you can do that. And color stands out so much more on a black background than it does on a white background. You won't believe the difference. There. This black gesso may be one of the neatest things I've ever come up with. All right. Now then, let's see what we have. Just put a little bit in this corner up here. Very lightly, we just brush across, and that'll remove the brush strokes. But there's a lot of action happening in the sky. If you wanted to smooth it, I've got several brushes going here. You can take a clean brush and just blend it. I sort of like having some of these little action things happening, but it's up to you. If you want to make it smoother, if you keep blending it like this, you can make it till it looks absolutely like silk. Just like silk. Very smooth and very nice. All right. Okay, now we have us a light source. Let's have some fun today. Tell you what, we use the old round brush here. And I'm going to mix up alizarin crimson and phthalo blue. We'll just mix those two together. Once again, we have much more crimson than we do blue. I want this to be a lavender color, but to the bluish side. And it's very difficult to tell when you're mixing color like this what color you have. Sometimes it put a little white out there, and then you can see what color it is. And that's just what I'm looking for. All right. So I say, let's take a round brush, and I'm just going to tap it right into that color. Just tap it. Let's go right up here. Now then, I want some little trees that live back here in the background. This round brush is one of the neatest foliage brushes that you've ever seen. It makes background foliage probably better than any brush that we have. So nice and easy. All you have to do is just tap. There. Okay. This makes some beautiful little background trees. Be a nice place for my little squirrel to live. I tell you what, we've got so many requests about that little squirrel. This is all going to be just the same. I'm going to tap in some little trees. I'm going to show you my little rascal again here. He is one of the cutest little devils that you've ever seen. And it's fun to watch him eat. That son of a gun, he can tear up an eyedropper in a heartbeat. And if you've seen this one before, this is the one that we named Peapod the Pocket Squirrel, because he wants to live in your pocket all the time. I think if you allowed him to, he would stay there 24 hours a day. I've raised him ever since he was just a small baby. And in only a few more months, he'll be ready to turn loose and out on his own, have his own family. There we go. And I'm still just tapping in some basic little background shapes here, just to create the illusion of foliage way in the background. Okay, very good. All right. Now then, let's put a few little highlights here and there. And for that, I have another round brush. I have several, so I don't have to spend all of my time just washing brushes. I'm going to take a little touch of the alizarin crimson, a little bit of cad yellow, a little yellow ochre. I want to make this a very bright little painting in the background. Some beautiful warm colors, a little bright red in there too. Ooh, that's nice. Sort of an orange color. Let's go right up in here. And maybe, yep, you're right. Look at there. A little light just zings right through there and just lights up that little bush. Just lights him up. Now, I'm going to take just titanium white and bright red. I'm going to make some beautiful little colors here. This will be sort of a hot pink color. Once again, just tap it right onto the bristles, just touch. Whew, look at that. These are the kind of paintings, though, that you can put in a room and it'll warm it up. It will absolutely just warm it up. But once again, you can do this in any color. This is just, it's such a fantastic day here. It's just, I feel like doing it in cheery, bright colors. But maybe you'd like to do it in greens or something. That can be just as striking. I'm adding a little touch of the phthalo blue to that same pile now. Just varying the colors back and forth. Now we're going to a cool color. Blue is a very cool color. Put it right next to the warm colors, and it just makes a striking contrast. Okay, maybe another one of those. I like it. Right there. You make the decision. You make the decision wherever you think they should be. There. But didn't that brush make some beautiful little things very, very simply? There we go. Another one right there. a little bit more of the white, a little more of that bright red. Once again, I'm just going back and forth between these various colors, but I want them to be warm against cool and cool against warm. The pinks against the blues, vice versa. That's what'll really, really turn people on when they see your painting. There we go. Let's go right over in here and take this little one. Maybe bring it right on down like that. And here and there, and there and here, I'm going to add the least little touch of sap green to our color. Maybe here and there we can see a little green in some of these bushes. But it's going to be a very light green. I don't want any dark greens back here. It would change the whole mood if you was to put a dark, dark green in there. Just a nice sparkly little green. And if you notice, some of them here have been left unpainted. That really makes it look like a deep shadow. And that was done intentionally. There we go. Now, just maybe a little touch right in here. Once again, I want to leave some of those up in the background unpainted. Makes them look like they're really far away. Okay, super. Now, let's take our little script liner brush, and I'm going to dip that in some paint thinner and go right into the lavender color. And we want this paint to be thin, almost, look at it runs. It's almost like ink. Turn the bristles in there. That brings it to a very sharp point and loads it full of color. Need a lot of color, okay? Maybe there's some little tree trunks that we can see just here and there. And these little delicate things in here really give depth and dimension to your painting. Because they're always in the woods. You always have little sticks and twigs and limbs and branches, whatever you want to call them. They're always there. And they're very nice to put into your painting. They add realism to it. There we go. And I know we're not interested in going out and making a happy buck or two. But if you're out selling your paintings, and I've said this so many times before, this is what separates your painting from other people's. It's this little bit of extra in it. Makes you special. And we know that you're special. There. Okay. Now then, it's time to really have some fun. Let's take an old 2-inch brush here. And in my world, maybe I'm going to have some little grassy areas that come right down through there. So I'm just going to first I'm going to put a little touch of that same lavender color on this 2-inch brush, and then I'm going to go right down, there we are, to the yellow. I put that lavender on there, so when I touch this yellow, I'll get varying shades of green, and I'll go into the yellow ochre, the Indian yellow, and once in a while I'll bounce a little bit into the bright red, and I'll just vary these back and forth. Tap the brush, giving it a little push, so it creates that little ridge of paint, so you can see it right along there. That's what we're looking for. There's another one on the end of the brush. That's what we work with. Okay, let's go up here. You have to think about the lay of the land already. Maybe our land's going to flow. Something about like that. And begin thinking about how you want this to lay or to flow, whatever you want to call it. Lay of the land, the way the land flows. Everybody has their own idea of what you call it. Okay, a little more of the color. Go right back up in here. Now I want it to get darker as it gets back out in here. Darker, darker, so you can tap it more, or just use less and less pressure on the brush. There. Okay, we'll sort of vary. We'll go into a little more of the yellow ochre here and there. You can change the planes in here or the lay of the land just by doing that. See, it leaves a little indentation in there, and it creates interest in your painting. That easy. Okay, a little touch right in here, like so. There we are. But things will begin appearing if you just start out with a general idea. You don't really have to plan each and every little thing here. It'll just actually start appearing if you just let it work. Let the paint work, the canvas work. Shoot. Now, sometimes it's fun to take your brush and go into a small amount of titanium white. Just load a little tiny bit on there. There you can see, just a very small amount. I don't want much. Now, think where your light's coming from, and just pick out an area or two and let that really shine. It'll look like there's light just zinging right through there. It'll really, really sparkle your painting up. Just think where it would hit. But don't overdo. This gets feeling good, and it's real easy to overdo. And then it absolutely will lose its effectiveness. Back to our darker colors. Just add in some little things here and there. All right. Now, you know me. I like water, and that would be a perfect place for a little stream. I'm going to dip the fan brush into liquid white, go into titanium white. I'll be right back. Get the least little touch of phthalo blue. So we have liquid white, titanium white, and phthalo blue. The liquid white's in there only to thin the paint, because a thin paint, as you know, will slide right over the top of a thick paint. Okay, let's go up in here. Now, with this thinner paint on the brush, in my mind, right about in here, there's going to live just a happy little waterfall. But see, pull it straight and then go down, over and down, like that. Decide how big your waterfall is. Just push upward, create a little foam. Now we can start letting that waterfall just work right down here. And it's going to pick up the color that we put on that black gesso. We have that nice lavender color on there. Whoops, look at there. Fell over again. Water got trapped in there, fell right over. Just make up little stories and let the water go bloop, wherever you think that little bloop should happen. And that easy. That easy. You can create the illusion of a little stream. It's just bubbling and playing. Probably some little trout live in there. This is a place my little squirrel would like to live, because this certainly is a lovely spot. He would have a good time here. Good time here. Hope you like seeing those little rascals. They play a very important part of my life. Right now I have 5 little squirrels and 2 crows. I've talked about the little crow in other series. Both of them have been injured by guns. People just shooting them, just for the heck of it. I'm not opposed to hunting, but I'm certainly opposed to people just shooting things just for the pleasure of shooting them. Don't want to get on that soapbox. Okay, let's go back here. I'm going to take some of that lavender color. Take the old 2-inch brush. And maybe, let's go right up here. Maybe in our world, there's a big tree that lives right over here on this side and watches over the waterfall. So we need some dark. The dark is in here only so we can put light on top of it. That's all we're putting it in here for. Something about like that, just to give us a basic shape. Okay. Now, in this tree, I'm going to make a light blue here. Actually, it's more of a bluish gray color. And maybe there's a happy little tree trunk that lives in our tree. Right about there. See? There. I'm going to put leaves, I think, on this tree, so we don't need too much. Just a little bit of this might show. Something like that. Now we can go back. We'll go back to the old 2-inch brush. What the heck? You could use 1-inch, 2-inch, anything. We'll use this. It's handy and it's already got paint on it. We'll go more into the yellow ochre on this one. Let's go right up here. Now, using just the corner of the brush, let's come in here and put the indication of all kinds of just beautiful little foliage on this tree. Just wherever you think it should live. There. But work in patterns, layers. Think about the shape of the tree. Just don't throw it on at random, or that's what it'll look like. There, see there? There's another little batch right there. And maybe, in our world, yep, maybe there's another little bush that lives right here underneath this tree. See, just make up little things. Maybe we'll put some grass that comes right down here. Just a little. There. A little grassy bank that lives there. We'll decide where that goes later. Time to have some real fun. Let's take some liquid white. We'll put it out. And I have quite a bit of liquid white. I'm going to take dark sienna and Van Dyke brown and mix it with that liquid white. So we make a brown color that's very thin. Very thin. Okay, now we go back up here. let's use our filbert brush today. And we'll take the filbert brush and go through the two browns, Van Dyke and Dark Sienna. Load it quite full of color, okay? Stay right there and I'll bring this up. Now, this thin color we made, just pull one side through. See, so we have light, dark, light and dark. Now we can go right up in here. I want some rocks and stones back here. So all you got to do is just touch, and that easy. In one stroke, you can make the highlight and the shadow of numerous little stones and rocks, and there's a bigger one, see? You decide where they live and just drop them in. That easy. Shoot, to tell you what, this is just too good here. It's just a perfect place. Let's put a nice stone right there. And maybe another one right there. See that? Big old stone lives there. We'll give him a friend. Friend lives there. Maybe. Sometimes I get carried away with these rocks. They're so much fun to make. I just get to making them and can't seem to quit. So we'll have a whole bunch of them right there. We'll put another big one right about there. Big old stone. Okay. Now, let's go back to our brush. It has liquid white on it, titanium white, and a little touch of that phthalo blue. Not much phthalo blue, just a little. And I bet you know what's coming. You know me. I love moving water. And it's so much fun to make. Yep. Just a happy little waterfall right there. And it just works its way right around these stones. There we go. Just splashes right out of there. And of course, right there too. And we push upward to make some little splashy areas, some little foamy things that are happening down here, because we need those. And it's also a nice way of cutting off the bottom of your waterfall and making it as long or as short as you want it. Now then we can just come back in here and put all kind of little water movements, little things that are happening in the water. Anytime you want a little foamy thing, you just push upward with the brush. And that easy, you can have it. Tell you what we need to do. Let's take a little more of our little grass color here. Come right down like that. And maybe, shoot, I tell you what, we'll take a little yellow ochre, a little touch of the bright red. Let's get a little crazy. A little bit crazy. You can use any color you want. Maybe, yep, you're right. It's just a little bush. It lives right here. And he sort of hangs out over the water. Right on the bank. Back into our greens. And just let something hang out right about there. So it literally looks like it's protruding out over the water. On the other side, maybe we'll just bring this right on out. Just a little cove where the water goes, and then it zings right on down the stream. There. Now, shoot, let's have some fun. Let's have some fun here. I'm going to take paint thinner, quite a bit of paint thinner, and go right into my brown colors. There. I want a lot of color in this brush. All right, let's go up here. Let's get crazy. Maybe, yeah, let's get crazy. In our world, there lives a big old tree right about there. And I'm doing it with a liner brush because I want to make it have a lot of bends and wiggles in it. But you could do it with a fan brush or whatever. It doesn't matter. Whatever. Let's give him a little friend. Everybody in my world has to have a friend. There. About like so. And maybe even, let's go on the other side. Maybe we don't want it left out. Maybe there's a little one that lives right here. He goes clean off the canvas. Now we just put in a few little arms. A few little arms. Got to have some arms out here. There we go. Okay. Tell you what, you can also take that brush and pull it through that thin color that we made for rocks and just go right down like that. See? And it'll create the illusion of a beautiful highlight on these trees. That easy. That easy. A little bit more in the color. We can go along in here And we just need to put some arms on this tree. We don't want it left out. Wherever. Maybe right up through there. And this big old rascal, it needs something on him. But just let your imagination go here. Just let it go. There. I did a painting very similar to this for our newsletter a while back, and it was one of the best paintings I think we've ever done. We had so many comments about it, and people painted it at home, and it worked for them. It's unreal. We have art contests every year, and I know that one's coming this year. People will send that one in because they were happy with it. There. And wherever. Wherever. You can just put as many little limbs out here as you want. Okay. Now then, let's go back. Get our old 2-inch brush. I'm going to go back into that same yellow-green color and just tap a little more color, the same way we did to make the little grassy areas and the bigger trees. I'm going to put a few leaves up here. I don't want too many because I don't want to lose this background. But just a few nice little floaters that just sort of hang around up in here. Wherever you want them. There. Once again, I don't want too many up here because I'd like to be able to see through this and see that background that we worked so hard to put in. There. Something like so. Maybe on the other side here. Maybe we'll change the flavor. I'm going to add a little bit more of the yellow ochre and Indian yellow to that side. Yeah, that's nice. I like that. Just a little more to the gold tone. It's a very colorful little painting. And as I mentioned earlier in this show, this is a painting, if you hang it in a room, it will certainly brighten your room. And everybody will love it. And these black canvases are so phenomenal because every time you change the light, it looks like a new painting. Let's add a little bright red to yellow ochre. And go out here and do this old big one. There. Just really brighten him up. There we go. Just some little leaves that hang out here. Have a good time. Something like that. But sort of look at form and shape on your tree. That's so important. Maybe this old limb down here has got a few. Like there. There. And we can take the liner brush. A little touch of the light color. And here and there, and there and here. Maybe to put the indication of just a few little sticks and twigs and things like that. I think this one's about done. So let's take a little paint thinner, a little bit of the bright red, and we'll sign this one. Certainly hope you've enjoyed this one, because if you try this, guarantee you'll love it. Send us some photos. We'd love to see what you're doing. And from all of us here, I'd like to wish you thought today we'd do the little painting that you see at the opening of each show. So let's start out and have them run all the colors across the screen that you need to paint along with us. While they're doing that, let me show you what I got up here. I have my standard old canvas. This is a double prime pre-stretched canvas, and I'm using an 18 by 24, but you use whatever size is convenient. And I've just covered the entire canvas with a little bit of liquid white, that's all. Just liquid white. And with that, let's have some fun. I'm going to start with Prussian blue, old 2-inch brush. Prussian blue, so very strong blue. I like Prussian blue. Okay, let's go up in here. We start up here in the corner, and we just make little X's or little crisscross strokes. Something about like that. Now this will not be an exact duplicate of what you see at the beginning of the show, but it'll give you an idea of how it was made. There we are. Because we have no patterns, we use no tracings, no drawings, so nothing ever comes out exactly the same. But as I say, once again, it'll show you how it was made, and when you create your own, you add anything or subtract anything from it that you want. There we are. We'll just bring it on down about like that, wherever you want it. Okay, I'm going to go right into some midnight black. I want to darken these corners. I'm darkening this because this little painting has a lot of clouds in it, and I want them to stand out. So the way to make them look brighter is to make the sky darker. Makes sense, doesn't it? There we are. Okay. And down here we can just wipe off the brush, because it won't hurt anything. That gets it pretty clean. Now then, I have several of these old brushes going, so I don't have to spend all my time washing brushes. Let's go into some titanium white. Just tap the brush or wipe it, it doesn't matter. Just get some paint on it here. And let's go up in here. And let's just take and begin tapping this. Just tap it, like so. Let me get a little more color on the brush. There. And all we're looking for here is very basic shapes. We're not looking for any detail at all. Just let that blend right on out. Something about like that. There. All right, a little more of the titanium white. Another little cloud right here. And you put as many clouds in your world as you want. As many as you want. Or as few. Maybe you don't want any clouds in your world. It's up to you. Up to you. Totally and completely. That's what I like about painting. It gives you freedom. You can experience any world that you want. You can put any dream here that you can conceive. All right. Something about like that. But all we're doing is just putting in some basic little shapes. We really don't care. We're going to take the blender brush in a minute here and just blend these out. And because the canvas is wet up here, you can literally move color. You can make it slide right on the canvas. Well, we had a sky full of clouds here. Maybe, yeah, why not right there? Something about like that. Let that blend right on out to nothing. Wherever. All right, let's get our little blender brush. These little blender brushes are very, very soft. As my father used to say, they're tender as a mother's love. There we are. There. And in my case, that was certainly true. I'm very prejudiced, but I think I had the greatest mother there was. Beautiful, beautiful lady. And I hope she's watching now. There. Just see how you fluff that up with that little blender? It just goes right over. Right over. There. Okay. And once again, in your world, you decide how many clouds live in it. Or how few. And that's basically all there is to making a lot of clouds very quickly. Okay, we'll wash the old blender brush off. And I'll wash it the same way. A little paint thinner in there. It's not as much fun to beat that one, though. Didn't make near the mess. With a little blender, I normally wipe it on a paper towel or a clean rag afterwards, because you want it as dry as possible. I'm going to take some black, some Prussian blue, a little brown, a little lizard crimson, whatever. Maybe a little more of that crimson. I like crimson. It's one of my favorite colors. All right. Pull it out as flat as you can get it. Cut across. Get a little roll of paint. There you can see it. Right down the edge of the knife. And we had a mountain in our world, and it lived right here. All we're looking for initially is the shape of the top here. That's really all we're looking for. We could care less what's happening elsewhere. We will later, but right now, that's all we're looking for. Right there. Just this nice outside edge up here. That's all. That's all. Very little paint. All we're doing is staining the canvas. There. Does not take a lot of paint. I'll put a little bump right there. See, just make a decision and drop it in. In your world, you have total and absolute power. Scrape it hard. You can probably hear that. Get in there and pull that paint off. You cannot get it all off. Don't worry about it. The only way you could get the canvas back to where you could paint another color is to wash it with paint thinner. Just rinse it off, which is okay. I do that frequently. If I don't care for a painting, I just wipe it off and take a little paint thinner, wipe down the canvas, let it dry. Now there'll be a stain on there still. But when you put your liquid white, black, clear, whatever on it, It's okay. You paint right over it. Give it a few minutes to dry, though, after you take the paint thinner and wipe it down. All right. Something about like that. You know, one of the questions I hear over and over in the letters that we get from fantastic people all over the country is, can I use acrylics to do this? I wished you could. Acrylics, they're a fantastic medium, but they just dry too rapidly. This is a wet-on-wet technique. So we depend on it staying wet through the entire painting. If it doesn't, then we've defeated our purpose. Sorry to jump around like that. Just jump all over the canvas. There. Maybe here and there, we just blend up put a little titanium white on there. I want to create a misty effect down here at the base. And make that a little lighter, then we can go back, tap a little of that mountain color in, and put the indication of some little things that are far away back in here, just by tapping. Just tapping. These are going to be the ones in the background when we're done, if everything works just right. There. I touched a little touch of cadmium yellow, very, very small amount, and it'll give an instant green. It looks like little green things that are growing up the side of that mountain far away. Way back here. We don't even know how far back it is. Don't know that we even care. Many miles. All right, over here now, we can pull this one down. Just grab it and pull it. Pull it. We let it come right into that. There we go. And all I'm doing here is blending out the paint. I want to remove as much paint as possible so the next layer will stick easier. See, it's mixing with the liquid white, and automatically this beautiful mist will happen. You don't even have to think about it. It happens. There we go. So you can spend all your thinking time thinking about your painting. There. All right. Let's take titanium white and pull it out as flat as you can get it. See, just pull it out. Take the knife, go straight down on it. Cut across, get a little roll of paint. And in our world, now, no pressure. No pressure. Just let this knife just bounce and play right down through there. And think, let's have the light coming from the right in this one. If you're right-handed, that's normally easier. Just think where light would strike and play here and let it go. Don't just try to copy. In your mind, decide where all these little highlights live in your mountains, because your mountains may be different than mine. They're probably much better. Just, there comes a little light. Just let it play. We had a little ridge right there. See, that's all there is to it. Mountains, to me, are one of the most fun and enjoyable things to paint. I love them. I love mountains. I think I've mentioned many times before, I lived in Alaska for a long time. And Alaska has some of the most gorgeous mountains that God has ever made. There we are. I think you could find enough material to paint there to last a lifetime. All right. And if you don't have the good fortune of living in an area where there's all these beautiful, beautiful mountains, you can go to the library or anywhere and pick up books that show pictures. Art books have pictures in them. There's many ways you can find photographs or drawings of mountains that'll allow you to paint some if you want to. Maybe you want to do this without a mountain in it. And that's okay too. Okay, a little bit of this blue color, and I'm going to go right back up in here and just begin adding in some shadows. Once again, this will not be an exact duplicate of what was on TV at the beginning of the show, but it will certainly show you how it was made. There. See there? All those things that happen there just by changing some angles. I'm going to grab the small knife. It gets into these little places so much better sometime. There. Very gently. No pressure. No pressure. I can't say that enough times. I get letters every day that say I'm having trouble making the paint break or leave all these little holes. One of two things is happening. You're using a paint that's soft and it won't work, or chances are you're applying too much pressure. What I used to have students do when I was teaching every day, I'd have them practice on their palette till they could, every time, pull that paint across there and make it break. And the palette's made of plexiglass, so if you can make it break on the plexiglass, shoot, when you get to canvas, it's easy. I'm just tapping the bottom here. I want to blend this out a little bit. There. Following the angles, always following those angles. Now, sometimes we come from a camera that gives you sort of a funny angle. So if that happens, don't think your painting should look like it. We're coming from a different angle. Okay. That's a question I hear frequently is, I see you look to the side. What are you looking at over there? I have a television monitor that's right off camera, so I can see exactly what you're seeing. And then we have some of the most fantastic camera people in the business here. And they'll look at what I'm looking at, and between us, we'll turn everything so you can see it the best and get the best results at home. There we go. Taking a little of that, little Indian yellow, yellow ochre, and some of that bluish color I had on the brush, and that immediately will make a nice green. And we'll just sort of vary back and forth here some of these colors. Something about like that. And then lift it upward. Make it look like little trees that live far back here. Little tiny trees, little baby trees, but they're really big, but they just live far away. Far, far away. There we are. All right. I think I've mentioned in some of the previous shows that the program is now playing in Japan, and recently we sent a whole bunch of paintings, original Bob Ross paintings over, and they did a big exhibit, and hundreds of people came to see the paintings. It's fantastic. It's fantastic. There, a little bit right in there. All right. Time to have some fun. We'll take some Prussian blue, some black, some crimson, and then we'll put some sap green in there too. There we go. I'll mix up quite a bit of color, like that. I'm going to clean the old knife. Let's make the little trees that were in the background. For that, there's a fan brush, and it's clean. Let's go right into this very dark color. This color should look black on your palette. But because of the Prussian blue, it'll be predominantly blue. Let's go up in here. And we'll have some little trees live right in here. All we're doing is just touching and tapping downward. That's all. That's all. Very, very simple. Don't make it complicated. When they start breaking apart like that, it means it's time to reload the brush. There. All right. Maybe they come right in there, wherever. And really the only thing you're concerned about is these nice tops. What's happening in here, you could care less at this point. Maybe later it'll become important. But at this point, we don't even care. Maybe we'll have these a little higher and drop down. Now sometimes people say, mine look like fence posts. See, like that. They look like fence posts. The only thing that's wrong is you don't have enough. Just go back and fill them up. Because as you know, we don't make mistakes. In our world, we only have happy accidents. And very quickly, you learn to work with anything that happens on this canvas. Anything. And it takes the fear out of painting. You don't worry about it. Because for so long we've been taught that you had to be blessed by Michelangelo at birth. You couldn't paint. Now, you may not be able to paint like he did, but you can sure paint this way. There we go. Because this works. And we got trees all the way across. Sometimes it's fun. Take a little white, and you'll make it look like little tree trunks back here. Just take a little white and very gently grab that and lift upward. Just a little. Don't overdo. Don't overdo. Don't overdo it. It looks like little tree trunks far back in the distance. You can take the knife and also cut through it. And it'll give an effect that's very nice. Okay, time to have more fun. Let's go into that dark color. This is predominantly black. And let's have, maybe, we'll have some big rocks right there. Predominantly black though. There's some big rocks. All we're doing is filling in paint here. We could really do this with, a paint roller. It doesn't matter how you put this on. Just want to cover the canvas. In fact, if I had thought a little bit, we could have done the bottom with black gesso, and this would have already been done. Or you could use liquid black. The difference between liquid black and black gesso. Liquid black is an oil-based medium. It's designed to stay wet several days on a good canvas. Black gesso is an acrylic base. It's designed to dry very rapidly. It's for when you want to work on a dry surface. Liquid black is when you want to work on a wet surface. So it just depends on your mood. There. Both mediums have their own characteristics and they're both neat. There we are. Something about like that. All we're doing is just covering it up. Now then, gonna make a little black, a little white, make a gray color. Well, there's a little touch of blue in there too. Okay, black, white, little touch of blue then. Whatever happens. Pull it out like so, but it's marbled. We haven't overmixed it. A little roll of paint on the knife. And let's go right up in here and begin just putting the indication of all these little rocks and stones. Let me stand over here. Just let the knife touch and sort of bounce along there. Don't overdo. Don't overdo. Just let it bounce. Let it bounce and play. Change the angle so some of them look different. This is far away. We don't know what it is. About like that. And I want to get darker and darker down here toward the base. So it gives the impression that more light's hitting the top than down here at the bottom. That's all there is to it. Okay. Let's build us a tree, or two, or three. For that, I think I'll use a little oval brush today. It's easy to distinguish. It has a black handle. The rest of them all have white handles. All right. We had a big tree in our world, and it lived right there. Touch, make a little line, and we start just like we do with the fan brush, using just the corner. Just the corner. And on this brush, once we get down, though, we go straight in, and it makes those gorgeous, gorgeous hanging downs that you see on evergreen trees. In some parts of the country, the limbs hang down really low. They really hang down. In other parts of the country, they stick straighter out. So it just depends, I think, on where the tree lives. Maybe it has to do with water. I don't know. Sunlight. Don't know. There we go. Another little tree there. Go right into some yellow. Just take same old brush, go into yellow ochre, cad yellow, to make a green, and then very lightly. We said our highlight was coming from the right side. I'm going to add a little liquid white, make it a little thinner. Our highlights are coming from the right, light's coming from the right. So that's where we want to put the most emphasis. There, let it get darker and darker down toward the bottom until it just disappears. There we go, something about like that. But darker and darker toward the base. That's important. It's most important. All right, we had a little house in there. Little house lived right here. So all you do is touch and begin scraping out a basic shape. Our little house looks something like that. Scrape off all that excess color. Let's get in there and scrape it off. We'll use a little bit of the Van Dyke Brown Dark Sienna mixed together. Let's just fill it in. Just fill it in. It's a little like a lean-to on the side of this house. There. Van Dyke Brown, Dark Sienna mixed together. That's all there is to it. See, just all we're doing is blocking it in at this point. Now we'll take the brown, put some bright red in it, a little white, a little white. And for that, we come back up here and we'll just put in a little roof Well, wouldn't this be a gorgeous, gorgeous place to live? Look out over all these beautiful mountains and trees. I'd like to have this cabin. Take a little lighter color and just highlight it a little so this edge stands out. Just a little, like that. And we go back to our brown and whites. And let's put in a touch of little highlights right there. Something about like that. Over here on the side, I'm going to add a little bit of that Prussian blue. I want it to look more like it's in shadow. There, maybe even a little darker than that. Oh yeah, that's much better. I want that to be dark. Little Van Dyke brown and just touch. Make it look like old boards, slabs, whatever you want to call them. And we need a door in our cabin. This old guy had to have a way to get in there. Shoot. Cut across. A little bit of the light color just to outline the door a little. Wipe off the old knife here. Tell you what, let me go back to an old 2-inch brush. Dip it in a little bit of the liquid white. Go into a little bit of my yellows. We had a little grass around the bottom of this cabin. So we use all the colors here, the yellows, a little touch of red once in a while. Here it comes. But this paint has to be quite thin because we have so much paint already on the canvas. Each layer of paint needs to get thinner and thinner. There we go. Just tapping. We need a path. Gotta have a path. No way to get up in here. Take a little bit of that brown color. I want it brighter than that. I can't make that out. A little dark sienna in there, a little bright red. There. He may come home a little impaired, and he needs a path he can see when he comes in here. Can't ever tell. That happens sometimes. Little sap green. Here we go. Now you just begin deciding where everything lives in here. About like that. I want to make this look like a little hill here. Shoot, maybe it comes all the way up in here. Something about like that. Wherever in your world, you decide. You decide. A little black, a little white. Maybe there's just an indication here and there of a little stone and a rock that lives in there. And that's basically how we did that little painting. Scratch in a stick and a twig. Shoot, you finished. Hope you've enjoyed this one. As I say, it'll show you how the little opening was made. So from all of us here, I'd like to wish you happy painting, and God bless, my friend.
Welcome back. I'm so glad you could join us again this week. And today I'm very, very excited. We've got so many cards and letters wanting to know how to paint saw blades that I've invited a special lady in today. I would like to introduce you today to a close personal friend of mine. I've known her and her husband Joe for quite a while. I'd like to introduce you today to Dorothy Dent. She comes to us right out of Missouri. Dorothy, we're so glad to have you with us today.
Thank you, Bob. I'm really glad to be here.
Well, I'm going to get off here and let you show them how to do a saw blade, and I'll be back with you at the end of the show.
Good deal. Thank you. Okay, we're going to paint a saw blade today. You know, saws come in so many different interesting shapes and sizes, and many of you at home may have a blade that you would like to paint on. If you have one, check it for rust, and if it's rusty, remove that with some sandpaper or steel wool. And then spray your blade with a metal primer. That'll keep it from rusting back through. Then spray with a flat black acrylic, and you're ready to paint. I like to start with a loose sketch that I've already put on this one, and I think they're going to show the colors that we'll be using today, and so we'll just get right on into our painting. Let's start with our sky. I like to start at the very back and move forward, and let's go in with a large bristle brush, and you want to make sure you're using a bristle brush. let's pull the white out where we can get to it. And I like a rather soft white here. And then pick up some Prussian blue. You know, Prussian blue is really a strong color, so we don't really need a great deal. And that's rather bright, so now I'm going to add just a touch of black, and this will gray that blue right on down. Okay, get a color mixed up there, that's good. And then we'll start right up here at the top of your sky and use the bottom corner of your brush. I'm giving it a little pushing motion as I go. And the reason I like to spray these saws black is I use that black, pull that paint out a little thin in places, and that gives you a little variation in your color tones. Leave some room for some clouds. Now, we're going to put a cloudy sky in. See, that part's real easy. Now, we need to clean our brush, clean it real good, and dry it out. Bristle brushes tend to hold the turp, and I like to keep them rather dry. And then we'll pick up some white again, and I'm gathering this on one flat side of the brush. Then turn your brush so the paint is to the top, and we'll come right on in and just puff up a real nice little cloud. Now the paint's heavier up here at the top of your cloud, and then as you're losing some of that paint out of the brush, pull some of the blue into the base of your cloud. Now here can be another one, so I'm going to gather a little bit more paint again. Now come right up here again, and here's another one. Have to kind of watch, or you have a tendency to work your clouds in long rows, and we don't really care about that. Let's come right on down toward the ground line and keep your brush more or less moving back and forth across the base of the sky. Now there's a nice soft puffy cloud, and that wasn't hard at all. Now let's go into that same color and darken it just a little bit more. A little more blue and just a little more black. Again, it just kind of works into the brush here. And let's give ourselves a little distance back in here. Hold your brush, kind of sideways, and just pat very loosely to get a suggestion of some real soft trees way off in the distance. You know how they look kind of blue-green when you see things from afar. And just right in through there. Now I want to get rid of that white that's in the brush, and I'm going to clean it again. And we will go into a darker color because we've got some foliage that will be coming right on down into the foreground. So we're going back into our black and our blue and get a color that's just somewhat darker. Now, back again, and this time I'm on the bottom corner of the brush, and I'm just going to puff in this foliage. Up toward the top, you can let it look a little bit loose. Come around your building. I kind of leave a bit of space there for the building. If you get over into it some, it isn't going to hurt a thing. Now, we're just going to let that color set up a bit, and we're going to work on our building. Let it dry just a bit. Now, let's go to a small sable brush. Something, in a medium size is fine, doesn't have to be too tiny. And let's pick up some burnt umber, and we'll lay this right underneath the edge of our barn eave there. And this side we'll determine will be our shadowed side, so we'll just put a little bit in here. It's not going to show up too much on that black, but we'll see it in a minute. Then I'm going to wipe that brush a little bit and then pick up some Venetian red. That's a good barn color. And let's start right here on the front and stroke down. Follow the line of your boards. These boards were nailed on up and down, so that's the way we're going to paint them. Leave some of that black showing in between there just a little bit, and that'll help your board line look. Let's put just a hint over here. Watch the corner of your building because we're going to need good sharp contrast there. Okay, we'll wipe our brush and then we'll pick up just a little bit of white. And we'll stroke right up on the front of that barn. See that highlight that's going to put on there? just a bit. That's really all we need, just something to soften it in there. Okay, let's go to just a little bit smaller flat sable now, and we've got a little bit of a window up here at the top. Most of those barns had a loft up there. We need to paint that in. That's black, and I've got just a touch of white now, and we're going to just suggest a little edge to our window. Okay, now then, we're going to clean our brush again. Well, now wait just a minute. Let's go back into that burnt umber and black here and make a little bit of a underneath the overhang of the roof area. From the angle we're seeing that barn, we'll see just a little shading there. Okay, now then, we'll go to a little larger brush, and let's get a little gray blue on this roof. Now we're going to establish this picture at this point as a snow scene. So we're going to have some gray blue on that roof for shading in the snow, and then a little white, and we'll come right across the top of that roof and then pull down just very loosely to suggest the snow piled on the roof. We don't want to overwork our paint at this point because it'll just get too much all one color. Okay, now then, just a little bit of an edge right over here. That snow's piled up high on the other side. There. Okay, now let's go to a fan brush and make just a suggestion of some snow on our background trees. This is a little bit of pale blue and white. That's that same blue mix, and add some white. Load your brush on one flat side, like that, see? Okay, now with the paint up, we need to come in right on the corner and tap. Notice how this is going to throw your brighter paint right there to that edge. We want these leaves to look like they're hanging over the barn just a little bit, just like so. Now you at home will have a bit more time than we have here, and you can take a liner and go back and add more little sticks and twigs and all kinds of things in here. Just kind of let them go in and out, and they'll just look great. But we're going to leave that for you to do at home. Okay, let's go on down to our foreground. And let's take, a medium-size brush, and we'll go into that blue-gray again, and we'll establish the shading in the snow. And we're going to very quickly just brush in right here above that water. We'll brush in that shadow of the bank where it will begin to drop down toward the water. We want to show the drop with a shadow. And we've got a little bit over here behind that barn. That's the shadowed side of the barn. It's going to throw a shadow on the ground too. Okay, then we've got another little bank here, and let's get some shading at the bottom of it. And while we're putting shadows in, let's just do it all and get some down here in the foreground too. And that way we'll have that much established. Now when you're pulling out these shadows, particularly in the shadow area, allow some of that black to work for you. Sometimes people cover their canvas with black and they're not used to that, or their saw blade or whatever they're painting on, and they think, gee, they better cover up all that black. Well, that's not the reason we put it on there. We just put it on there so you can use it. Okay, we'll just get a little bit of that in there. That should be enough, and we'll just let that sit. Now then, we need to put our white in our snow, and we'll go to a little flat brush here, and we'll take our white and pull it out, load it on one side of the brush, and come right across the background trees with your white. Now, as you move down toward your blue, We'll be working right into it there in a minute, and we want to go with the direction that that ground is sloping. Very important when you're painting ground, whether it's grass or snow or whatever it is. Back in here it's more flat, so that's the way we work our brush. Let's let that pile up under that barn just a little bit. Right in through there. Back here in the shadows. Work it in. Just kind of go around the hole. A little bit of shading maybe from over here to the side. Then we've got a little more white right in here, and here is another bank, and so we've got to make a distinction there. And we'll just put that white in, and we'll brush the blue into it. There. Now then, let's let that rest just a little while. That looks good. And we'll go back to our big brush and put a little bush here. We've left an area here unpainted. So back to our dark colors. And we'll just puff that in. There, it comes out here just a little bit. Okay, now back to our fan brush. Remember, we were loading only on one side, and then turn it so your paint is up. And again, just give it a hit. Don't drop the handle down like so. Just stand it up, and that gives it a little bounce, and you can just make all kinds of bushes. Okay, let's go to our water. Get down here. We've got a little stream coming down through this field. And we always want to lay our dark in the water first. So we're going to pick up our Prussian blue and our black again. Now, right in here, right under the bank. And then pull down slightly. You won't see this too good again, but we have to have a little bit of the dark there for the moistening on the surface. And we'll just pull that down. Again, some of that dark of the saw blade can work for us. There's a little bit of a dip in your bank here. And then we will clean out our brush. Okay, now then, we're going to go to our gray blue. Mix again, and we're going to start right in under the dark. I'm not starting in it, I'm starting just under it, and pull down, pull down. There's a tendency, especially when your banks are a little bit zigzaggy, you want to tend to follow the contour of the bank and pull this way sometimes, but we really don't want to do that because your reflections look much better if they're going down. That's the way they need to go. You want to pull that dark right into that gray blue. Now I'm kind of staying away from the middle of the water. We want that to catch some of the light from the sky. You know, water is clear and it just reflects what's around it. So this water is going to reflect what is around it. Now then, right in that middle, let's pick up some white. And I'm going to put just a speck of orange in it. This will give it just a little off-white. And then we'll start right in that center and work right over the gray blue. But you start with heavier paint in the middle and then work out toward your other colors. And that way, you're not losing those colors. When everything gets in and covered, we have a nice reflection there. We'll take our brush. Same brush is fine, or you might want to use a fan. But you want to just go wiggly, wiggly, real soft and light. If you push too hard at this point, what's going to happen is you're going to overblend your water because you will take out those downward strokes. And that way, your water begins to have a flat look, and we really don't want it to look like it's flat and hard. Just a little bit there. Okay. Now we're going to let that rest a little while, and then we'll go back and do some things to that bank. But real quickly, we can get our foreground in here. We've got quite a bit of snow right here in this front section. And again, we might pick up just a touch of orange right up here to the top. That will brighten it up and put just a hint of warmth in your snow. Looks like the sun might be hitting it at that point. Okay, and again, you remember to follow the slope of the ground. Okay, there is our front end. Now let's go back and do a little bit of work to this back bank. That doesn't look real to have just a straight line. So we're going to double load our brush. Now when I double load a brush, I'm loading it on one flat side here, and then I'm turning it over and putting a little white on the other flat side. Now we're starting right at the bank and pulling toward the water. See what happens? That will pull just a bit of a little drop off down. See that? And then just blend it right there. Now anything that's down in that water needs to be flat. Remember that. Sometimes instead of doing a whole lot of little drop-offs, we don't want to lay them along just one right after the other. It looks better if you just kind of soften out that line. And just put a few little snow-covered rocks or little chunks in there. They will look very nice in your painting. And while we've got this brush in our hand, let's double load with our burnt umber this time. There's burnt umber on one side, and turn it over, and a little of the white, any kind of that dirty white's fine, on the other side. And we're going to come down on the chisel edge of the brush. Now I'm starting right there and just pulling down, and look what happens. You get a light and a dark stroke at the same time, and there comes a little fence right on down to the edge of the water. Okay. In fact, these barn lots have lots of little fences. Let's put a little old wiggly one right back here in the back. It might have lost a few rails along with the years, so we don't need to make too much perfect rails there. Let's put a little brace post there, okay? Now then, we need to work on our foreground just a little bit here, so I'm cleaning that same brush and picking up burnt umber and a little black. We're going to put a tree right here in the front. I'm picking up just a little bit of medium at this point. I like to use a medium that is a dryer, something that will help to speed your drying of your paint a little bit, plus thin it. And we'll start right in here. You can just decide where you want to make a tree. That tree can grow anywhere. Just balance this picture off with a little tree shape right here in the foreground, and we're just going to base in that trunk. Pick up some of our background colors, and that'll help to give your tree just a little bit of highlighting anyway. There it is, just grew right there. Now then, let's clean our brush and get rid of that dark. And back to our white again, and load one flat side, and I'm turning the brush so the white is against the outside edge. And I'm coming right down on the side and just establishing a nice sharp line. See how I'm just pulling that in? Okay, a little more paint, and now let's do little chopping strokes pulling over into that tree. See what that does? That gives you a little bark texture and makes it look like that the snow has stuck to that tree when it blew in the wind. Go around a few little areas and see, you've got some little holes for the squirrels to crawl in. Okay, now we better have a limb or two. And again, I'm going to double load. One flat side, like this, then turn it over and have your white on the other side. Now, to me, it's easier to start on the outside and pull in, and I'm coming down right on the bottom corner of the chisel edge. Now, see it turn? Then push harder as you get into the tree, and then just a few strokes there will blend it in. That takes just a little practice, but you can do it because it's not hard. Just start right down here and then pull in. Very easy. It helps to keep the dark side a little moist. That way your paint will slide. Where to put limbs? Big dilemma. Not really so big. You can put them anywhere. Just try to get a balanced look as you go. Just kind of balance that tree out. It doesn't have to have limbs in any certain place. These are the main limbs that we're putting on. And then we're going to take our liner and thin that paint just a bit. And let's start right here and pull out a few small twigs. Have to keep that dark pretty moist too. Okay, these are just like our other limbs. We can just let those wiggle right on out there just anywhere. Some of you may have trouble holding your hand up in the air to do this. You can always brace your hand with the end of a brush or use a maul stick. A lot of artists like to do that. Gives you a little support. And we'll just, let's put a little one down in here. He's just kind of wiggling off down here. Make your limbs bigger where they connect to the tree. Mother Nature does that, so we better too. She knows how. Let's darken that one just a little. I'll put a little wiggly limb right in through there. Okay. Now then, this tree isn't going to have any leaves on it. Maybe those back in there are oak trees. They hold their leaves all winter, so they've got some leaves that are catching the snow. But this old tree here is bare. So we'll just let it sit, and we'll go back to our flat brush and double load again. And we're putting in, just an old post. It's down here in the front, and it's got a brace on it. And we've got another one over here that's leaning a little. This fence was built a long time ago, so it's not in real good shape. And part of it is down. Little snow on one side. Snowed so hard everywhere else, we'd better have some there. Just a little bit on one side of the brush. Many times people load both sides of their brushes when they only need to load one side, and then they get paint where they don't really want it to be. Okay, now we'd better plant those little posts. They're floating up in the air right now, so let's go back to our bush color, background tree color, a little Prussian blue and black again, and back to that big brush and just bounce that in, right down in the front here. Just get some real loose little bushes, some of them taller than others. Okay, that'll cover the bottom up of the tree there too. And then we'll go back to our fan brush and let's get a little snow on these bushes. No doubt it's fallen there too. Again, notice the angle of the brush. It's sideways. And we're just bouncing in real nice, loose, lacy looking little snow clusters here. Okay. Now, right in under these, let's say that we've got a little snow that's drifted, and we'll just go ahead with our fan and just kind of soften that in underneath and pull it to the side a bit. This will give us a little wind-blown look. Drift it up in there. This will also give you just a little bit of contrast in color, but it's still keeping darker colors toward the front. And you want to always pull the light into the back or middle of your painting. I think that's just about done.
Dorothy, thank you very much. That is beautiful. Didn't I tell you she was fantastic? We'll be looking forward to seeing you next week. Until then, happy painting. God bless.
Bye-bye.
Hi, I'm Bob Ross, and I'm glad you're with me today. So today, let's do a fantastic little seascape. Tell you what, let's start out and have run all the colors across the screen that you need to paint this little picture at home. And while they're doing that, tell you what, come on up here, let me tell you what I've already done. I've got my standard old canvas up here, and I've painted the entire canvas with black gesso. I allowed that to dry, and then I've came up here and I've sort of added some colors. I've put a little bit of alizarin crimson mixed with black and a touch of phthalo blue up in the sky area. And down here in the bottom, I put some phthalo green, phthalo blue, and black. And just covered the whole canvas with a nice, thin, even coat of those colors. Those colors are transparent, so when you put them against a black background, it still looks black. And onto that, we're going to add different colors, and fantastic things will happen. I think you'll enjoy it. So I tell you what, let's get started and do it. Let's start off today with a small amount of titanium white. And I'm using the little 1-inch brush. And I'll tell you what, let's make a happy little sky up here. And let's just take the brush, and since there's color already on the canvas here, all you have to do is just sort of touch. All I'm doing is just sort of touching and putting in all kinds of just happy little shapes. Just like so. We'll just let that go right on off. There we go. See there? All you have to do is tap. Very, very easy. And once again, because there's color underneath, you'll pick up that color and just fantastic things will happen. Or you can just rub it a little, just like so. Just scrub a little of the white on there, then all these things begin happening. There. See? Just whatever you want. Maybe over here, let's do another one of those. These are going to turn out to be big, fluffy clouds. But all we're doing right now is just tapping in a very loose base shape. Just a base shape, basic shape, whatever you want to call it. We're not looking for detail at this point. We're going to come back and begin worrying about detail. Right now, all we're doing is adding some color onto the canvas. Okay, now then, let's take a good dry 2-inch brush. Be sure it's dry. And very lightly, we'll just begin brushing here. Just brush. And I'm going to brush the base of this out, but I'm not going to touch the top yet. Just blend it out. Let it blend right into that color that's on the canvas. Isn't that fantastic? There. These black canvases are one of my absolute favorites. Now, very lightly, just lift that. Lift it and blend it. There we go. Just bring it all together. Lift it and sort of pull it up that way. I'm doing that real slow so you can see. Just pull it. And it makes one of the most fantastic little skies. And it's so very easy. There we go. Just like so. Now right across the center here, I have a piece of masking tape. I just want to keep the horizon lines nice and straight on the seascape. So that's just plain old masking tape put across there. We can take a fan brush with a little bit of white on it, and maybe we want to go back here and just add in some little things here and there. All you do is just lay in some basic shapes wherever you want them, wherever you want them. And go back to your large brush and blend them. And you can blend them to any degree of darkness that you want. The more you blend this, the darker it's going to become, because it's going to pick up the color that's on the canvas, the base color underneath. And you can just keep on till you blend it all the way if you want to. But hopefully we won't go that far with it. Now then, let's pull the masking tape off and we'll have a nice straight horizon. See there? That masking tape really does keep your horizon just as straight as it can be. I hope you can see that. I know it's difficult on that black canvas with a black background. Now then, where the tape was, I'm going to add a little bit of black and phthalo blue just right in there where the tape was, because there was no color there. Being careful to keep that horizon line nice and straight. Nice and straight. Okay. Now then, time to make some big decisions. One of the things that I like to do when doing seascapes is determine right from the beginning where my major wave's going to be. And then it seems to work easier if you know where that wave's going to be and you work around it. So I'll just use the little filbert brush here. I'll put a little white on it. And let's make a big decision. Maybe our major wave will be right about here. And it'll come right about here and go out. And it's going to come up a little bit and then sort of break over right in this area. And maybe there will be the big break. And that's really all you need. That tells you where you can work and where you can't. More important is where you can't work. Good. Now then we'll draw off our little filbert and we can have some fun. Let me get a fan brush here. Maybe back here in the distance, let's mix up. We'll use some black, a little touch of blue, a little touch of phthalo green. Throw some Van Dyke brown in there too, just to dull it down. And just mix them on the brush. No big deal. Maybe back in here, far, far away, there's some distant little trees live. So I'm just going to take the brush and I'm barely touching the canvas. I want these to be quite light in value. These are far away. I don't want them too distinct. I want them just to be back here in the mist. Just in the mist. They're just hiding back here in the background somewhere. There. See? You can see them, but they're not real distinct. Now, closer up on this, there'll be a few trees that are much more distinct. I have a few little evergreens sitting out here. There we go. There them little rascals are. And you just put as many as you want in your seascape, or as few. Maybe you don't want evergreens in yours. Maybe you want to have some old trees that hang over and lean, and that's all right. Anything that you want. I just want to show you how to do this, and then you decide how you want to do it. There. Okay, I use that same color. And let's put in maybe a little footland back here. Just a little rock, the rocky area that projects out into the water. There we go. See, all we're using here is just that same old dark color. There. Now brush strokes at this point become very important. You can lay this completely out using nothing but brush strokes. Normally I put no color there, just the dark, but no highlights on it. Just the dark color, and let the brush strokes put the indication of all kinds of little things in there. You can even lift up. Now, even if this doesn't show on your TV, when you do your painting, it will certainly show. You can see all kinds of rocks and stones, and it's unreal what can go on back in here. Now, if you want, you can add the least little touch of white to your brush. Maybe that'll, there, you can see that better. So I say, I normally wouldn't do this. I just want you to be able to see it. But just with brush strokes, you can create all kinds of happy little things back here. Just wherever you want them. There we go. Okay. All right, now we can come in here and start playing. Let me find another fan brush. I have several fan brushes going, so I don't have to spend all my time cleaning brushes. And we'll take just straight old titanium white. Straight old white. Load the brush, both sides. And let's go up here and let's make a decision here. Here's our horizon. So let's just start putting little, and I'm going to exaggerate. I'm going whoop, 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 okay? Got to make that noise too. But just small back in there. Just think of little waves. Little waves splashing way back in there. And leave some dark areas. Don't cover up all these. Sometimes it gets to be fun and you can't stop. There you go. Just work it out. See, and already that begins giving the indication of water. And it's picking up that color that's on the canvas. And all these little things just happen automatically. You don't even have to worry about them. Now maybe, let's come right in here. And here's a big major wave. It comes right along in there and lives. And goes right on through. Choom. And this wave, we said, came right along here like that, and then it's going to come right over. Boom. Once again, it helps to make those little noises. Of course, people look at you a little funny, but that's all right. There. Now then, let me wipe my fan brush off. Just remove the excess paint. And now then, all I want to do, well, watch, it's easier to show you. Here, where you put this paint, begin blending it back. But you're still making a little stroke like that. Okay? Hope all that makes sense. There. See, what's important is not this line that you made here, but in between. That becomes the trough, or the area between the waves. And just by pulling that little bit of paint back in that stroke,